Hi, Tim Sales here with another video. This particular video is a statistic up for debate? And if you've been around the network marketing industry, what you've probably heard is people say most people fail or 90% fail or whatever it is. Well, there is an anti-MLMer who basically says that you can't debate a statistic. And in this video, I'm going to compare the statistics, the income statistics of 3 different business models and compare them, and network marketing is one of those. And so whatever you do, you got to watch to the end. All right. And so I'm going to play a little clip here where Kylie says a statistic is not up for debate.
And that brings me to number 2, is that only 1% of people will be successful in this. I'm going to give or take that because I'm going to probably put it down to 90% of people that won't succeed at this.
First of all, you can't give or take a statistic. You can't. So it's not about how you feel that day or, anecdotal, whatever it is. Okay, you can't. That's a statistic. It's not, really up for debate. So, but then she says, I'm going to pull it down to like 90%. Okay, still not great. Even if we were to say hypothetically, yeah, let's go with your statistic, 90% of people fail. Still not great odds. Still not a great business venture to go on, and wouldn't recommend it to anybody.
And one of those.
You heard that, right? Wouldn't recommend it to anyone. Keep that in mind. All right, so you can't give or take a statistic. A statistic is not up for debate. If 90% fail, still not a great odds, still not a great venture, and wouldn't recommend it to anyone. And so I'm going to compare YouTuber statistics as well as network marketing in one other industry, all right? And so the first thing I'm going to do is really have you get a greater understanding of how a statistic actually can be debated. And I don't know if you know why I'm doing these things, is that I want to get you off of an opinion of another. Because if somebody can't evaluate something, they have to depend upon the opinion of another. And what I'm trying to do throughout all of my videos is to educate you how to evaluate something. All right. And this is going to be just one of those really epic education pieces for you. So I happened to see Bill Gates, and I saw this little thing right here, okay? That little thing. This little thing. I had to go buy it because it says how to lie with statistics. How about that? And I'm going to show you statistics can be debated in many ways, and I'm going to cover 3. One is omit a comparison or compare it to a false equivalent. And one example of that would be this document that every one of the antis always quote, okay? And so you're going to see in just a few minutes, okay? So what he compared it to was a traditional business, the Small Business Administration statistics, which the average loan is $380,000. And that is what's called a false equivalent. Okay, that's a false equivalent. You got to compare it to something that is comparable. Number 2 is deceptive math, tricky math, made up math, pseudo math, whatever you want to call it. What was calculated and how was it calculated? You've got to be able to look at the raw data. You do not look at summaries. You have to say, how was the data put together? The next one is subcomponent stats are a quantity of something, right? It's kind of like 1 apple, 2 apple, 3 apple. It's not 1, 2, 3. So it's got to be a quantity of something. And then so when somebody says 90% fail, you have to say at doing what? Okay? Understanding subcomponents is how one can change a statistic instead of being the effect of a statistic. And what I mean by effect of is, oh, well, I can't do it because statistically most fail. If you do not dig down and go, well, what are they doing? What can't 90% do? You just never know that, all right? So I was utterly baffled by her statement. And it's the reason I'm going to explain these things for you. And hopefully this never happens. Okay, so statistic, rifles killed 374 Americans. Make assault rifles illegal. Yeah, that's what we got to do. All right, so what's the problem here? 374 deaths compared to what? Okay, so omit a comparison. Well, if you compared it to a blunt object, such as a hammer, there's 472 killed. Hitting and kicking is 656, so you're going to have to get rid of everybody's wrists and their hands, right, and their feet. Knives, 1,600 people. Automobiles, 37,000. Opiate overdose, 52,000. Medical malpractice, 250,000. Cigarettes, 480,000. So why start with what kills the least? Well, you start with a bigger number and work backwards. Okay? You see, that is how you can lie with a statistic called omit a part or omit a comparison. Okay, here's another one. This one is the deceptive math. Statistics, 480,000 men studied for 7 years, 24% reduction in heart attack related deaths. And so you go, oh, 24% of 480,000? Well, gosh, man, that's 115,000 people whose lives were saved. It's not what it is, right? So where did this 24 come from? You will not see it in the abstract. You will not see it in the summary. You have to dig into the actual quantities. What you will find is that in the placebo group, in other words, the sugar pill, there were 38 people who died. And in the statin drug group, there were 30 people who died, a difference of 8. Well, if you look at the percentage of that, this one is 2%, this is 1.6. If you subtract 1.6 from 1.4, you get 24%. So it's the reduction. So 2% versus 1.6% is a reduction of 24%. Ratio of a ratio. That's deceptive math. So yes, you can debate a statistics. If you don't do tricky math and you go down to this number right here, what you're going to find is something fascinating. 96.3% of men given no treatment lived. 96.4% of men treated lived. Difference of 0.1. 3 people on a study of 480,000 people. That is called a non-statistical event. And so the only way that they were able to get the traction they got, if anybody had looked at this, they would have said, 3 people? Are you kidding? Out of that much? They spent like $120 million on this study, our taxpayers did. So now you can see how this deceptive math, you can lie with statistics, right? Next one. Omitted quantity, comparison, and factors. Statistic, 90% lost money in MLM. All right, so the solution is don't do MLM, right? Or quit. No quantity. How much money did they lose? In other words, okay, so lost money. How much though? Compare quantity to real estate agents, insurance, affiliate marketers, Amazon sellers, stock trading, YouTubers, etc. Then and only then would you be able to then look at it, right? So because $4.6 trillion were lost in 4 days in the stock market. You get what I'm saying? In other words, okay, so, all right, wow, that's a good reason to quit, but for what? How much money was done? Expenses or net loss? That's the other thing that they don't do. And this is no comparison. So in network marketing, in like almost all legitimate companies that I know of, they offer 100% return in 30 days and 90% return in 365 days. And you'll hear Kylie always talking about that we are preying on the vulnerable. I don't get it, okay? Like, stop buying. Like, say no. It's called caveat emptor. Buyer beware. Like, at what point in the 2 years that you were in did you decide that it was a scam? Like, how long do you have to, like, you see what I'm saying? No, it doesn't make any sense. So that is given back. That is consumer protection at an extreme. No other business that I know of does that. All right. Was it 1099 income? Because you write off your expenses. So W-2 income is poor people income. You get it taken out, you never see it coming. All right. So your employer takes it out, and it's 40% on average of your income. All right. If you open up a network marketing business, all right, the average person saves $4,000 to $8,000 on taxes by having a network marketing business if a person or spouse is a W-2 income earner. In other words, the W-2 you get to write off. In other words, somehow you had to pay for the leads you bought, or somehow you had to pay for something. Where did you have the money to pay for that? That money is typically W-2 income. And so you can write off whatever it was that you spent, because the IRS has two tax systems: W-2 for poor people, 1099 for wealthy people, the people who are going to open businesses and create wealth. And so you can write off running ads for your business. Okay, you can write off business expenses. And so did this person, whoever makes this phrase here, did they look at all the factors? Did they look and say, well, did that person write off that 1099? Then it wasn't actually a loss to them. All right, so now let's do some comparison. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a comparison. I'm just going to break down why I'm doing a comparison to network marketing. Number one is because real estate startup expenses are very similar. And so it's somewhere around $500-600 to do a pre-licensed course, and then the exam, $66, license app, $152, the association fees, somewhere around $1,000. The multiple listing service is about $600. And so right around $2,000, $2,000 to $2,500. So similar basic startup cost. And then over here on the business expenses, wardrobe, business cards, yard signs, magazine ads, newspaper ads, online ads, travel, electronics like phone, computer. That's kind of the building expenses that we incur. Maybe not necessarily yard signs and stuff like that. But what I'm saying is this is similar. In the John Taylor document that so many anti-network marketing people reference, including Kylie, what he compares us to is a business from the Small Business Administration, and the average loan is $380,000. That is not a comparison, all right? Because a person who puts $380,000 into a business is very different minded and devoted. Otherwise, they're going to file bankruptcy, right? So they're really devoted. So this is the reason that I compare it. Now, all of this explanation up here, I'm going to do in another video where I can really give it a lot of explanation. But what I'm going to show here is that basically, fundamentally, what real estate does is that they start their math here. Okay, so the number of people who pass the exam. That's basically what real estate does. They omit all of these attrition gates on the path. So when a person says, I want to be a real estate agent, they start here. They have to go through here. And so by the time you get down here to 50,000 new agents every year, only 7% is remaining. And so their math starts where 93% have been omitted. That is why you have to debate a statistic, okay? So when you run it down here, it actually required 700,000 people in order to get 50,000 to pass the exam. All right, so over here is Kylie's numbers. This is YouTube, and only 12.9% get to being eligible for 1/7 of 1 penny. And that's, they have to have 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 watch hours. And I've never heard of a compensation plan in my life that works that way. And so basically somewhere around $500 million goes to YouTube. $500 million is paid out right here, and there's no refunds. All right, so you got to keep that also in mind. Let me get that back. Okay, so when you compare it, just real estate, you'd say, all right, so how many people sell one home? 37,500 out of the original. In network marketing, 578,000 are going to sell at least one product. Obviously, it's easier to sell a network marketing product than it is to sell a home, right? So, but we have a big drop right here. Their big drop is in here. 0.05% in YouTube is earn 57,000, and 3% earn $48,000 in real estate, and in network marketing, 7.5% earn $53,000. And that's 2 times more people will earn $50,000 in network marketing as compared to in real estate. Okay? That's the big deal, all right? And so only 366 people out of the same starting number are going to earn $50,000 in YouTube. And then when you drop down to the next one, $75,000 bracket, only 0.04. In Kylie's industry, 1.32% is going to make it in real estate. About 9,000 people, 25,000 people in network marketing. That's 3 times more than real estate. And then when you get into the $100,000 range, only 0.026, 183 are going to make 110,000, and then 0.18 in real estate, 1,250, and 14,000 in network marketing, 2% will make 100,000. That's 11 times more. Now, what I'm not doing here is I'm not cutting down real estate. I'm not cutting down YouTubers, and I never want this to be about that. Any person who is stepping out there and saying, I want to be an entrepreneur, that's what is our tribe. And so I don't ever want to cut any, I don't want to I'm only doing this comparison because this guy has made it about so few people make money in network marketing, and he's only gotten away with it for one reason, is that he omitted this section of other businesses. That's the reason that they're able to do that. You know, when you look at education, I think the numbers are like 85% or something like that graduate high school, and then 5% get a master's degree, a professional degree, 1%, that would be like a doctor, a doctoral degree, 1%. But when I look at those numbers, I'm like, those are rounded up. You know, like that would have been like all of these being 1%. You know, so I think their numbers are rounded up. You're basically always going to find the same thing. All right. I find it very interesting that in all industries, in other words, if you were to look at corporate America and you were to say, okay, so this guy makes $100,000 in corporate America. All right, well, what was that journey? Did he have to get a bachelor's degree? Did he have to get a master's degree, a doctoral degree, PhD? Like, what did he have to do, and how long was that journey, and how much was that cost? What you're going to find is it's all around the same numbers. Okay, so you've got the general person, whoever that person is. I don't know who they are, all right? But they want to be on W-2 income. That's what it is. And on W-2 income, like I've said, is that they are paying 40% of their money to taxes, and they don't ever see it coming because the employer pulls it out. So we are different. We're a different tribe. We are after entrepreneurship. We are after creating our own life, our own freedom, making our own time. We just are in a little bit of a disagreement with the standard, what we're supposed to be. Somebody said we were supposed to be. All right. So that covers in terms of like how to break down and look at and compare the right things. And that's, that was the different, in both of these, it was that way. So now let's talk about subcomponents. Stats are quantity of something, 90% fail, right? So let's take a look at that because I think you're going to learn a lot on this one. So if you're not looking at the subcomponents of a statistic, it is what they're counting, right? This is what they're, like the numbers, the quantities of something. Well, what are the subcomponents that went into the statistics? Well, these are the subcomponents of income. And this right here is what I call the income gates. So what is the difference between, let's say, in network marketing, a person who sells one product versus a person who builds a sales team versus a person who builds a bigger sales team versus a person who builds an even bigger sales team? You get the idea. What is that difference? Why is it a 2%, 3%, 7%? Why? It's this. That's all that it is. And guess what it is in real estate? Same. And guess what it is in YouTube? Same. They just go about generating their leads in a different way. They're called subscribers in that situation. Okay, so that's the main thing that that differentiates it, because if you just looked at these numbers right here, or these numbers, or these numbers, you say, you know, like, am I really that good? You know, like, wow, I've never thought of myself as being in the top 5% or 7% or something like that. And I assure you, I never looked at statistics when I started building. Never came into my mind. I knew I was shy and I had to get over talking to people or how to generate leads. I'd never written an ad in my life. I put ads in the Washington Post newspaper. And so it was just like kind of crazy to me. You know, like that. Then one day I find out that I'm in the top 1%. And I'm like, huh? So the reason I say it that way is because I was only focused on this, doing these columns. I wasn't focused on trying to get to 3% or 2%. That wasn't what I was about. I was just trying to, you know, do the pipeline. So, and if a person, and I'm talking primarily here about the income gates. So if a person has an excuse why they can't generate a lead, well, then that is what's going to like stop their progress. And that's going to be why they don't sell one product. And it's going to be why also that they don't earn $50,000. And it's going to also be why they don't earn $75,000. You see what I'm saying? In other words, if there's one excuse that holds a person back from any of these, that is what does it. So what I'm trying to say here is that this is not an industry thing. It's not a statistic thing. It is a person thing. And for him to blame it on an industry tells me all I need to know. He wasn't doing this. We were in the same company at the same time. One of us, you know, like, I think I've said this before, but one of us went on to make 6 to 7 figure income for 30 years, 31 years. The other one spent his life trying to prove that the industry is wrong. That's what happened. So if you don't do it this way, all right, if you don't look at this, then what we have is what I call the tail wagging the dog. In other words, the tail in this conversation would be the statistic. Is the statistic wagging the human? In other words, oh, only 2% make it to $100,000 in network marketing. I can't. No, that's not the way it goes. You see, the human spirit is what controls. It's the dog, the spirit of the dog that wags his tail when he's happy. You see what I'm saying? That's the difference. You cannot look at a statistic and say, oh, that statistic controls me. No, it doesn't. It only does to the effect that people like this put a person down to think that they can't do it. Think I'm a little fired up about this? Like, I don't like when somebody suppresses another person. All right, it ticks me off because a coward makes other cowards, and I don't like it. All right. So let's get back to Kylie. All right, so you can't give or take a statistic. Yes, you can. Comp plans are different. At a minimum, comp plans are different. How do you think he got his numbers? Right? Companies didn't give them to him. It's not how he got his numbers. He did algebra to try to figure out how much payout there was. And that's not, you're not going to get that, okay? It's very, very hard to come up to that, to know the actual payout, because some compensation plans, they combine company conventions, they combine things like incentive trips and different things. Others have caps, and so it's not, his numbers weren't accurate. So you must look at the statistic. A statistic is not up for debate. Oh yeah, it is. If 90% fail, still not great odds, still not a great venture, and wouldn't recommend it to anyone. What a hypocrite. Okay, her own industry, right? So Kylie's business fits what she speaks against. In fact, Kylie sits in between 10,000 and 100,000, and that's going to run over here to 3%, 3 to 0.5. So she's in the middle of that somewhere. So 2%, 1%, something like that. So she is in that top category that she's saying she wouldn't even recommend it to anyone, yet she's doing it. Okay, so the fact that she didn't debate a statistic, that she didn't read this with a curious mind instead of a bias, already made up my decision. I am wanting to look for any top headlines that look awful. That's where she made her mistake. Okay, so in another video, she made a comment, and I'm just going to read you the comment, right? She says, when people are confronted with a statistic or a fact or something that contradicts what they believe, and then they turn to ad hominem logical fallacies as a way of arguing. That is when you attack the person instead of the point that the person's trying to make. She's confronted, in other words, the lady that I showed you, she's confronted, in other words, Kylie was talking to a lady whose screen was blurred, and she was saying, I'm going to give or take 90% or whatever. Okay, so she said, she's confronted with a statistic, which is true. It's been researched by the FTC, warning people not to join these types of things, and people still do them. So the more we can get these statistics out, then the better. Which is true. Okay, so that's what she says. But compared to what? If you compare it, you get that relative factor to say, yeah, but it's better than real estate. Okay? Even if it was equal to real estate. All right, I got to tell you this. If it was equal to real estate, I would say, well, gosh, it takes, I'm just going to wild guess this. It takes 400 houses to make $100,000. In other words, an agent has to sell a house, 400 of them, to make $100,000. Just an example, have no clue what the numbers are. Well, next year he's going to have to sell the same 400 houses. Or not the same houses, but the quantity of that. And the next year he's going to have to do that. But in network marketing, it tends to be more residual. Number two is I got a team. It's not just me. I've got an organization that is assisting in this. I've got geographic diversification and markets, right? So if you're in a small town like I'm in, and you're a real estate agent here, there's, in this place, there's probably 2 houses a year going to go up for sale because it's a small area. But you know what I'm saying? In other words, like, I don't have to go, if you're a real estate agent, license is in Utah, but you're not selling in all different states, in all different countries. Okay, so the amount of just space that you're able to do it. I would always prefer network marketing. And quite honestly, I was very shocked when I looked at the numbers, the comparisons. And I'm going to do a full video on that. So don't think that everything I said is all I got to say about it. So wait for that. All right. So before you start telling everybody about that, just wait for the real video, right? Okay. So it's been researched by the FTC. All right, this is another one where Kylie made a mistake because she was unwilling to debate a statistic. She did not notice that this is in the public comment section. Just like somebody comments on my videos down below or comments on her videos down below. These are public comments. This is not studied by the FTC. What a major mistake she made. Now she's warning people she's saying that the FTC is warning people not to join these things. And then we got to get this video, in other words, her video, out to more people. We got to get this statistic out to more people. You mean get the lie out to more people without a comparison from a public document, not an FTC document. All right? So she misled her audience because she didn't debate a statistic. All right. So, kind of in conclusion of this video, nearly all of anti-MLM content mentions how few people succeed. It's bite. In other words, where does most of the bite in their videos or this, where does it come from? What's the source of it? It comes because John Taylor omitted a comparison. Kylie omitted a comparison. And any other person who is out there promoting few people make money. I saw a video and it's like, and they were comparing it to McDonald's. And it was like, if you worked at McDonald's, you would make more money. Well, that's not even, that's one of those that you can't compare to. Because we want to be entrepreneurs. And don't make fun of us because we're trying to step out of the W-2 income and go into the 1099 income, which is how the wealthy get wealthy. Any social media person who has posted few succeed did not look with a curious mind. They've done a disservice to their audience. What gets promoted becomes public opinion, regardless if true or false. YouTube uses the like button, the share button, and comment section to determine truth. It's a strange world we're in. When people do not know how to evaluate, they listen to opinions. And a lot of times when people use a lot of emotion, then people feel as though that it's true. That isn't necessarily the case. Okay? So, truth is now in your hands. If you will, please like, comment down below. Let me know what you think of this video. Thank you.